Welcome to another episode of Geek-Men and the Masters of the Thunder Nerds. I am Dustin.
I'm Derry.
How we be? How we be tonight?
Oh, I'm good.
Good.
Just breathing. That's all I hope for.
Yeah, it's really all any of us can hope for anymore. Really. But anyway, this is our podcast. This is ADHD Theater. We usually get together, talk about two movies that we had previously assigned the previous week, I should say. And so tonight we will be talking about A Merry Friggin' Christmas and Gremlins 2, which is
The
Christmas
new batch.
adjacent. Yes,
Yeah,
the new batch.
The new batch.
Yeah. It's Christmas adjacent. We know it's not Christmas technically, but it's, again, Christmas adjacent. So, I mean, I had never seen Gremlins 2, nor A Merry Friggin' Christmas. So
Yeah, neither of us had seen A Merry Friggin' Christmas. That was a zombie suggestion, which, I mean, we'll talk about it. We'll see if zombie hit the mark or not, and we'll destroy him if he didn't. So he's not here to defend himself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much all anyone can do anyway. So toss out a suggestion. Most of us haven't seen it, then we watch it, But so that's our show for people that aren't familiar. We are live on Pilled and a few other places that might not be familiar with our show. Again, it's called ADHD Theater because we, rarely stay on topic. And when we do, it's usually not the topic we are intending. So speaking of, I have something I want to get into, but I will stay somewhat on track. Because
it wouldn't be the show if we stayed on track.
I know, but I'm trying to be better about it. But
nah.
So what have you been watching? I know I have something.
So I started the Black Dove show on Netflix.
Okay.
Keira Knightley, I think it's Wishaw or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a couple episodes of it. It's pretty good so far. Like it's captured my attention. So I would definitely check it out if you guys are in that kind of stuff. Hey, Mom. It's funny. I say "Hey, Mom" before Dustin does. It's his own mother. So.
I clicked on it. I just clicked on it, and you spat it out before I could. What's up, Mom? A usual listener, especially on our Friday shows. So
yeah. So I mean, it's a spy thriller show. I mean, it's British. It's right up my alley for stuff I've always liked. So it's very. I mean, most of the action shows anymore are like very John Wick-ish style.
Yeah, which I enjoy. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, a lot of hand-to-hand combat. I mean, if we watch John Wick as a movie here, I mean, it really changed the action genre for the last 11 years. Like, it's one of the most impactful, like, recent action movies probably in recent history. So
before that, I would have to say Bourne. The Bourne.
Oh yeah. Because I think the first Bourne movie was ahead of its time, actually, like in the action space.
Yeah, I mean, totally. They did all the hand-to-hand crazy hand cam things, zooming in and out, all crazy. People couldn't handle it at first. But now you see things like John Wick, and they mix in the hand-to-hand type stuff with the crazy stuff in and out with, wide shots and stuff like that. And it's put together better, in my opinion.
So I've been watching that. I mean, two episodes in, it's kept my attention.
Yeah.
I've been letting stuff pile up on BritBox. So I bought a month worth of BritBox to watch through some shows. Like I usually watch like the whole murder mystery type shows, like British murder mysteries. So there's a new one called The Jetty that I'm watching right now. It's got she was in Doctor Who. She was Peter Capaldi's Clara was the
okay.
Her name in Doctor Who. I'm literally just spacing her real name right now.
Yeah. She's the small petite blonde girl, right?
No, she had dark hair. Peter Capaldi was the old Doctor Who.
Oh,
she wasn't blonde.
Now
she had
I'm
brown.
thinking of the new female Doctor Who. That's what I'm confused. Okay.
Yeah, Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah.
God, what is her name? I can't think of it right now. I'll think of it. But I watched a couple episodes. It's pretty good, but I mean, some people probably think that's kind of niche type stuff, but I've always been into I love British comedy. I love like just British procedural police dramas. Like I would literally watch British TV more than American TV if I had access to all of it.
Yeah. So you probably are a big fan of Luther.
Oh yeah, I watched all of Luther.
I've only seen the first episode, but
I
was into it. Yeah.
That whole series is good because well, you know the chick, I can't remember in the first episode, it's the criminal chick.
Yeah,
she's like a murderer.
Yeah,
she's throughout the whole series for the most part. And I mean, I've seen her in other stuff. Like she was in, have you ever watched His Dark Materials?
Yeah.
So that's basically, if you remember the movie The Golden Compass that had Daniel Craig in it way back in the day, it's the same story.
Yeah. I did not know that until we were talking on here, actually.
Yeah, Eric Bertram and I used to joke around that was actually a James Bond movie, the Golden Compass. It was just the new James Bond that was coming out, and it had like a polar bear in it, like armored polar bear and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she was in that. Like that lady has been in so many different shows and stuff, but really isn't like well known or anything as an actress, but she's good in everything that she's in. I watched her in a show called like The Woman in Behind the Walls or The Woman in the Walls or something. It's I think a Irish, like it's not murder mystery, but kind of, it's a thriller show.
Yeah.
And it was a really good show, and she was the star in it. And but she doesn't, I mean, she's not like well known, doesn't get a lot of credit or any of this stuff, but is a great actress.
Yeah, agreed. So my mom says, Derry, I have adopted both you and Zombie. You are now Dustin's brothers.
True.
So yes, you're apparently have been adopted.
There we go.
But yeah, no, I don't know if it was you that told me about this movie or my brother Scott who told me oh, now I just blanked on the name. Land of the Bat.
Boy. It must have been him.
Yeah, okay.
It's not ringing a bell.
I actually watched that. I enjoyed it. It has Russell Crowe, Liam Hemsworth, and one of the other brothers.
My wife watched it. I haven't watched it, but my wife watched it and is like, "You got to watch this."
Yeah, it's actually really good. Well, in my opinion, it was really good. Not like knock your socks off, but it was definitely good enough to watch.
Yeah,
sit down and watch it. I found it entertaining. But
and now is it Netflix?
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
I just sat down and was like, let's watch this, because I knew it was either you or him, because I had just talked about movies on Netflix and stuff, and I was like, well, let's watch it. Why not? Not like I have anything better to do. So
yeah.
So yeah, I popped it on. It was good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think we've really dove into anything else in the last week.
Much to my disdain, I have been okay. Well, I shouldn't say it like that, because I do like the show. I would rather be watching Yellowstone and get caught up on that. Yellowstone, all the Tyler Sheridan shows.
We finished Yellowstone this week.
Yeah, we're still behind, and I'm trying to duck and dodge spoilers like someone on Dodgeball.
Well, I will tell you, people are talking mad shit about the finale.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the people who are all pissed off are missing the whole point of the trajectory of the show. Like, I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything because you guys haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But, like, I get it. The last season was rushed. They had things that they were dealing with that they weren't expecting. The show ended where it was supposed to eventually go, from my understanding. Just they had to accelerate the pace because they lost Kevin Costner. So there is a chunk of information in there, from my understanding, that's missing now, or it was compressed where it should have played out longer. Obviously, a character of that magnitude leaving the show, like if it was natural, it would have taken longer than it just, hey, I'm going to be in the first half of season 5 and not in the second half of season 5.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate, but I was satisfied at the end of it.
Okay.
Like, with the way it ends, I was satisfied. Now, a lot of other people out there are bitching and complaining.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of them also haven't dove into 1883 and 1923 and know some of the information from that to see how certain things come full circle by the end of Yellowstone. Yeah. So I also do think that's part of the problem when you have this shared universe of shows. If you don't consume all the media, you don't understand certain things in Yellowstone, which is the most popular show of them all, because you've never seen all the other shit that was going on in the others.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Beth's story arc mirrored the first chick, the
was it Elsa?
Yeah, Elsa, it might have been Ilsa or Elsa, something like that.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was something weird, but I thought it mirrored her story pretty close. And geez, when you come to realize all the stuff Beth has been through, it's just like,
well,
yikes.
I will just say, when you see the shit she puts herself through before the end of this series, like, she's one of the most badass characters on TV.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yep. I already know that without having seen the end of the season, but
like, Rip is a badass just because he's super fucking tough.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, physically, and you can tell he's mentally tough, but I don't think there's anybody on that show more mentally tough than Beth. Like, she is willing to do anything to win. And I'm telling you, in the very last episode, you fucking see that 100%.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited. That's why I'm like excited to watch it. But Kumara has been like, I really want to watch this other show. So we've been watching From, and we powered through season 2, and we're like halfway through season 3. Which, if you haven't seen From, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I got it on my list to check out.
So we're halfway through season 3, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is definitely worth it just to continuously pound through it. It's like, now it's like I want to watch the next episode, but Pumar's not home, she's at work, and it's like, I want to watch the next episode. But I wait, obviously. But yeah, so we have 1883 is coming back soon.
1923.
Yes.
1883 is one and done. Yeah.
Yes, right. 19.
Yeah,
whatever.
that preview looks real good.
Yeah.
I mean, if they unleash Spencer Dutton the way he could be, I mean, there's going to be a fucking war going on. So yeah.
Hey, Jess. Yeah, I totally agree, and I see the arc as it's coming up, and it's like, ooh, man, when he hits landfall, he's gonna just tear through everyone. It's
Well,
like,
my thing is it took so like the first season, like I anticipated him getting there the whole season.
yeah.
And then they didn't make it there by the end of the season. I was like, God damn it, now I gotta wait for season 2 to see this. But it's such a big deal.
Right.
Him getting there and just knowing what his character is and what he's capable of, that it's totally worth it. But
Oh yeah.
I think they should have had him get there and then start at least do one scene of something going down and leave it on a major cliffhanger. Like, I didn't like that he never made it to Montana in that first season.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed with that as well, but you know, it's been, I don't know, a year or so since they ended.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah,
it's been more than a year.
I can see why they didn't,
Mm.
and why they threw that like curveball right in the middle of it. You know, they're on their way back to like the States to get to Montana. I could totally see that why they threw that cluster fuck in there. And,
well, and I don't mind that it was taking them so long, because if you think about that time period, it's going to take a fuck ton of time to go from Africa,
right,
all the way through this clusterfuck of shit that they're going through to get back home. I just wish that he would have made it home, and it didn't even have to be like an epic like battle scene, but just like turn him loose with a few of this guy's thugs and let him just fucking like demolish them. So it gives you just that little bit of taste of what's to come when the actual war starts. I just think that would have been a better way to end that season. But I mean, I'm also not writing 18 shows at the same fucking time that are all of pretty good quality. So
I mean, it's insane. Tyler Sheridan is insane.
You know what we need to do? So this is an idea for the future. We need to do a week of this show where we just watch 2 of his movies, because his movies, in my opinion, are some of the best modern Westerns that they've made.
Didn't he write the one other show like in Oregon or Montana or
what a different show?
No, it was a movie.
So he's written Wind River, which is Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. That movie was awesome. Yeah, I fucking love that movie. Hell or High Water with Chris Pine. And Ben, I'm trying to remember his name. Little blonde-headed dude. They're both in it. That movie, and Jeff Bridges is, I think, the sheriff in it. That movie is great. I'm trying to think what his other ones are. Here, I'll look them up real quick. But he's got some of the best modern Westerns. Yeah. And a lot of people have never seen these movies. Like, it's amazing to me, like, how good of a writer he has been and just flown under the radar until Yellowstone.
Right.
Some of this stuff was done before Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Where's his writer credits? Oh, Sicario. He wrote both Sicario movies.
I was not aware of that. Makes me want to watch them.
Which one's this? Oh, he was a writer on Without Remorse, which is the Michael B. Jordan, Tom Clancy movie that's on Prime.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. That was pretty good.
That's supposed to set up the Tom Clancy universe for the like fucking, what is that? What's his very first novel that I can't fucking think of the name of right now? All the video games are fucking based on it, and I can't think of it.
Mission Impossible, Jack Ryan.
No, it's
Splinter Cell.
No, it's not that one.
Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Couldn't think of it. So Without Remorse was supposed to set up an extended Rainbow Six universe, because then they would bring in the original Rainbow Six characters as well. So,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, just Sicario, which is a movie I freaking love.
I've never seen it. It sounds amazing.
Hell or High Water is a great movie, and Wind River. They're all rated pretty much the same on IMDb.
Yeah.
So they're at like 7.7 stars, but a lot of times like modern Western type stuff is rated lower because it's not a popular genre anymore, especially for younger people.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that was the whole thing with Kevin Costner's modern Western. Event, New Horizon, or
it's just called Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the way I feel about it. I do think there's stuff they could have done better in that movie to help people process the story better. But you want to talk about a visually stunning movie, go out on, I think it's on Max, watch Horizon. Like, if you want to see like the beauty of the United States, go watch that freaking movie. It is amazing. Like, just how beautiful it is.
Yeah. I honestly think, see, I don't know. I'm a big Western fan, so I'm down with all that kind of thing. Well, I'll say more modern Western, because I love the Longmire series to death. I love it so much.
I'm telling you right now, people, if you like Longmire and you like, I think it's Robert Taylor is that guy's name that was in that vampire boat movie we watched.
Yeah.
Go freaking watch, what is it, Property on Netflix.
Yeah.
Freaking Australian Western show similar to Yellowstone. It's freaking amazing.
Yeah, that's one I've been meaning to get to and just haven't had a chance. We have so many shows. It's outrageous how many shows we have. But
yep. And I'll still bitch because I don't have anything to watch.
Right.
And I have like 8 series partially started that I'm not finishing any of them.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. I've literally talked to my mom about that all the time. She's like, she's always looking for something new to watch. And it's like, I list off like a half a dozen and she couldn't find anyone that she really wants or really likes, or she just isn't in that headspace to get into them. So it's like, all right, well, we'll have to put that on the shelf and come back to it again later. I'll have to suggest it again later. But yeah, I really want to watch that. But
I do think a Taylor Sheridan, we take 2 of those movies and watch them. I mean, if you haven't seen Sicario, you have to see Sicario, because that's some of the best like cartel type border movie. Oh fuck, man. I really enjoyed that movie, and I think you'd like Hell or High Water. It's really good. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen Hell or High Water. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, it's got Chris Pine, Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, Jeff
Ben
Bridges.
Foster is the one I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah. I love Ben Foster. He's awesome. Oh, it has Gil Birmingham in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I actually have not seen it, but it was on my radar of things to watch eventually.
I'm telling you, we got to do. Zombie will just have to suck it up if it ain't his thing. There, he's taking the fucking joystick, and I'm not saying this. Like, obviously, we have movies for this week.
Yeah,
I'm not saying in the next few weeks, but sometime in the future, maybe for like my 1-year anniversary of being on the show, that might be my pick. Of boom, we need to do this, because they are 2 movies you need to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have anything coming up after next week, because we tried to do holiday type themed ones for certain things, but we're coming up on Free Space, which will probably default to horror, but we can totally plug away at this avenue too. Now, are we going to see Nosferatu next week? I don't plan on going to the theaters. I do really, really want to see that though. It looks interesting.
He should know I'm not going to go to the theater to see it. Like, I mean, it's probably maybe Zombie would, because that's probably more up his alley. But
he has no intention of ever stepping foot into a movie theater again.
Oh, well, he would be interested in it, want to see it. He just doesn't want to go to the theater.
Yeah, probably. But it's I mean,
I don't know if I could swear off the XXX theater. Oh, I'm joking, guys, joking. Don't need anybody canceling.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it looks great, a great movie. But yeah, so won't be seeing that. I obviously haven't seen Red 1 yet. That's one I was wanting to see, but
hard pass.
Why is it a hard pass? Because of The Rock?
I mean, there's no want for me to ever just go out and search for it to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's on.
Well, I mean, it's probably like something up your alley with the family. You guys can watch and enjoy. Where,
yeah, I don't know. I probably
don't have that kid gene, so like I wouldn't give a shit what my stepkids wanted to watch. It'd be like, we're going to see what the fuck I want to watch at the theater. So, I mean, your stepkids, I'm not supposed to love you.
Oh, good grief. All right, so there's some other news. The Superman trailer arrived this week.
And so for everybody watching, if you haven't picked up on it yet, I am a much larger DC Comics fan than I am Marvel Comics. So I'm like Dustin and I share a big interest in DC Comics, where most everybody's been brainwashed and cucks out for Marvel Comics over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's been somewhat of a hard road with some DC properties for a while. I do think they get a much worse rap than what they deserve.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I'm very cautiously optimistic, especially when they announced that James Gunn was going to be involved in the DC universe. He had already done
optimistic about that because I'm only so on like the Guardians movies. But
so I think the first Guardians movie was a great movie.
Agreed.
I don't feel like because of how quirky it was that it's a great it has a lot of rewatchability, which makes it lose some street cred in my opinion.
Yeah.
I didn't like the second one. I never even have seen the third one.
Yeah, same.
I thought
the second one was okay, but what was that?
But I said I don't care to.
Yeah.
But James Gunn has actually shown a propensity for being able to step into serious properties. I mean, hell, he's already made a Superman movie, which has gotten critically praised. I mean, Brightburn is in essence a Superman origin story, just with a touch of horror added to it. I mean, obviously he's bad and evil. Yeah. So, I mean,
it had definitely Red Sun vibes.
Yeah, exactly. So I know technically he can do it. My biggest concern, my piece of caution was a lot of his stuff is really goofy.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to overplay the goofy card with the Superman property. That's the biggest thing that I've been worried about up until this part. Now, once I saw the trailer, I feel better about it. Let's
watch the trailer real quick.
Oh, you want to watch the whole thing? All right.
Yeah. I figured let's do it. Let's do it. So let's see.
If you guys hear a knock on my desk, you know what it is.
All right, so here we go. Hopefully you'll hear it. Does that have volume for you? Now, do you think you'll be in the theater to see that?
Me?
Yeah.
Simplify
Are you
your
high?
holiday gifting. Santa has elves.
I mean, legitimate question.
That'll be one that I'm there, like, probably first showing.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
It's hard to get me out for showing for anything, but that, and then the next Batman movie, the one in James Gunn's universe, will be a first nighter for me.
I'm anxious to see how that'll happen, because they have so many Batmans in this space right here.
Well, but I mean,
like it's a little bit of a cluster.
Matt Reeves, they've already said all that shit's in its own place, its own storyline, its own universe, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
It does not mix with the look and feel of this movie at all.
Right. But I'm anxious to see where and who they're going to cast for Batman.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably the most anticipated announcement, in my opinion, that we're waiting on from DC, because they've already started working on it and are probably pretty far down the road, because Brave and the Bold's supposed to come out in, I think, 2 years. So they got to start filming that thing in 2025 by the end of it, at least.
Yeah, but they haven't confirmed the casting or anything yet.
Yeah, but they've got to be close to finalizing that. They have to have that lined up so they can get schedules.
I know, right? I don't know. I will say I love the casting of Jon Stewart.
It's the guy. Is this the one where it's the guy from the Netflix movie, The Rebel Ridge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he'll do good.
And I love the guy they got to play.
I mean, Kyle Chandler's Hal Jordan.
Yeah, Kyle Chandler.
Yeah.
He's great. He's a great actor. I love him in pretty much everything he's ever been in. So, geez, and this is like
he's in Mayor of Kingstown, which is a Taylor Sheridan show.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Well, he's in an episode of Mayor of Kingstown.
Right. But this is going back to, he was in a show, like a CBS show. It was called A Daily Edition or something like that.
Daily Edition.
Yeah, something like that.
Where the newspaper told him the future.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been a fan of his since that show, and it was an older show. But I used to watch that as a kid, and that's when I first liked him. And then he was on Friday.
I liked him in George Strait's Pure Country.
I actually haven't seen that.
That's going old school to my hillbilly roots. My mom's mom had us watch that back in the day, George Strait's first full-length feature film. And Kyle Chandler plays like the boyfriend of his manager, who's like this young cocky kid, and actually impersonates him at a concert in the movie. And fucking everything after that, I've liked that Kyle Chandler's been in. I mean, have I liked the properties? No, but he's always played a really good role for the most part.
Yeah, so Mr. Terrific is interesting. It's an interesting choice, and I'm anxious to see how they're gonna play. I like the casting. He was great in For All Mankind. So yeah, they may. If I get struck, then
fuck them.
It is what it is. I'm only advertising for you. And I mean, it's only been replayed by almost everyone on the goddamn internet. Everyone's doing reaction videos. I'm just throwing in my 2 cents, which is worthless, but still. So is he up here talking trash?
I never saw 28 Days Later in the theater.
Yeah, me
and him and I lived together in Muncie, Indiana at the time. And one night it got brought up that I had never seen it. And so I think we were high out of our minds, if I remember right. I think he was teaching me and his wife now. I think we were learning to play poker and we were using Cheez-Its. And he's like, hey, you got to watch 28 Days Later. Like, it's a great horror movie. So we put that on. I'm dividing my attention between that and us trying to learn Texas Hold'em. And we're eating Cheez-Its. And there's the scene in 28 Days Later where a zombie bursts through like a glass double door. Like it is a jump scare scene. Fucking high out of my mind, munching on Cheez-Its. I literally probably jumped 3 feet in the air, over the fucking chair, onto the floor. Who knows? I mean, I vaguely remember, I remember this happening, but I don't have the memory that I probably should have because I was inebriated. And it scared the living shit out of me in that moment. It was probably one of the best jump scares in a movie that I've ever had. And every time that fucking movie comes up, he brings it up. So,
yeah, I mean, that's one that I want to watch at some point, but I just never
I
did.
liked 28 Days Later. I like 28 Weeks Later because that's the one that has Jeremy Renner in it. Then, in the second one. So, I'll watch the third one. I probably won't go see it in the theater though.
Yeah,
I'm too much of a recluse.
Yeah, I hear that. Evil. So I'm hoping that means she's started to watch Evil because that is also a good show. But any last thoughts about Superman?
I'm still in the same boat. Cautiously optimistic. I like that it's more comic-y than what the really deep, heavy. Like, I'm a Zack Snyder fan, but you can only take over time, I think, so much just like deep, dark, heavy, lamenting stuff. Like, that's one thing that Marvel has done really good. You need the comedy, like the little bursts of color to break up the darkness. And so it looks like a DC comic to me. It looks like a Superman comic to me. It's bright and it's warm and it's fun and it's funny at times and all that. So, yeah, well, if you knew them, you would know, Pam. I'll send them to live with you for a couple weeks. Even though they're both adults and one of them doesn't even live here.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that. It would have been nice to have a full, and this is the thing that they've said, James Gunn especially has said, we're not building for a franchise like what they were, like what Marvel built to the Avengers. They're not building to the Justice League.
Good.
And it's like, okay, that's good. I don't think you should be competing with them at that stage. Just make your own thing, but and do that, because these stories are good without all the drama, without all the extra stuff that they put on them. And I'm just anxious to see. I'm hoping it's good. I'm very hopeful. I will always love Henry Cavill.
But I think David Cornsweet looks more like Superman than Henry Cavill did. Like, I think he fits the bill from a lot of the comics I read. I mean, there's comics out there where Superman is just muscled out. Like, he's like Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger. Yeah. Like, I get that. But a lot of the storylines that I read, he doesn't need muscles. Like, he's powered by the sun. And so he was a lot slimmer. He was in great shape. Like, don't get me wrong. He probably had the body of a Greek god underneath a suit. But there was always just something about Cavill to me that, first of all, him and Ben Affleck wanted to be as big as they could be, like compete with each other. They didn't necessarily need to do that. But then, second of all, I don't think Henry Cavill has the range that this actor does. Like, I think David Cornsweet, looking at the few properties that I've seen him in, he's relatively new. Yeah.
I've only seen him in Twisters.
I think he's got better range than he was in We Own This City, which is about Baltimore. It was John Barenthal was the main actor in it. He was a cop in that. There's been a couple other movies that I've seen. I can't remember the names of them right now.
Yeah.
But I think he's better at playing multiple types of characters, where Cavill really is a action superstar.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't argue with that, but I don't know. Regardless, I think Cavill is awesome. I
love Cavill.
I loved the movies that people don't give them credit for. Like, I actually thought Justice League wasn't bad, especially the extended cut.
Well, I mean, the only Justice League that I want to see is the Snyder cut. You can take that Josh Whedon shit and fucking take a shit on it and burn it in a trash can somewhere.
Throw it in the garbage. But oh, dude, I don't know. So that will always hold a special place in my heart. For me, Man of Steel is my Superman. But all that said, I'm also a Superman fan. If you couldn't tell over my shoulder here, I'm a Superman fan. So I'm anxious to see it, and I'm hoping it's good and lives up to it.
I mean, I'm a bigger Batman fan than I'll ever be a Superman fan. But don't get me wrong, Superman's probably number 3 out of superheroes for me, because it's Batman, then Wolverine, like 100%. Man, and then probably Superman's 3rd for me. But my thing is I don't think I ever adopted Henry Cavill as my Superman, because I definitely grew up with Christopher Reeves as Superman. Like, because my brothers were older than me, and those were the Superman movies that they were obsessed with.
Yeah.
So, like, in my brain, Superman's always been Christopher Reeves. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't buy into other actors being Superman, because, I mean, I've loved a ton of the Superman properties. I mean, even like Smallville.
Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Smallville. Superman and Lois. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Tyler Hoechlin is did fantastic.
I still got to go back and watch the last season of it.
I mean, it's definitely worth it. And oh my goodness gracious, the doomsday that they managed to do in that silly CW show it's not perfect. It's not quite true to the story. However, it is the closest physical representation to Doomsday that we've ever had. So
I don't think anybody will ever touch any story that they put together unless it follows the death and life of Superman perfectly.
Yeah.
Anybody will ever knock Doomsday out of the park for me.
Yeah.
Now they might get a triple, but they ain't smacking no fucking home run unless I get to see the reign of Superman, like all that shit. They can do Doomsday all they want. It ain't gonna fucking matter.
Right. Well, and this actually sort of did. They didn't quite have Doomsday fleshed out. They adapted a character that was in their world that they had been working with into Doomsday, which was frustrating, but was okay because you're still seeing Steel. And
which Steel was in it before I even stopped watching.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like just having Steel in it was nice for me, because it's like, okay, that was fun. But
I mean, I want the full blown.
I want Eradicator. I want
Superboy.
Like Superboy.
I want Terminator Cyborg. I don't want Victor or whatever the fuck his name is. Cyborg. I want Terminator Cyborg.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was the closest it could be without actually getting there.
Yeah.
So again, I prefer, my Death of Superman comic. So that's like my Bible, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
No sacrilege intended.
Well, I mean,
but still,
the novel, like I couldn't tell you how many times I've read the Death and Life of Superman novel. Dennis O'Neil. That thing's probably got freaking like chocolate smears on it from when I was a kid reading it, like eating candy and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so this was my attempt at staying on topic.
Yeah, good one.
We sort of careened when we hit Superman.
50 minutes, and we haven't even talked about a weekly assignment yet.
Yeah, so let's dive into that.
Which we already have movies picked, so we won't have time to tuck into that. And I mean, I think these movies will probably go pretty fast for us too. So.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's see. Let's get into a Merry Friggin' Christmas. That way we can come back to Gremlins. I imagine we'll pound out Gremlins too, but a Merry Friggin' Christmas. What did you think? Zombie pitched it as it was a good movie, but in a dysfunctional family. And that's how he.
I mean, I don't even understand how you say this is a dysfunctional family. This is literally the family I grew up in. So apparently we're dysfunctional because, I mean, alcoholic dad. I mean, so this movie for me, I actually enjoyed it a lot. And I'm trying to put into words in a reasonable amount of time. So very similar to experience I experienced growing up in my household that I look back on very fondly. Tons of dysfunction. I knew I was going to like this movie at the very beginning when he has the locomotive and Robin Williams says, now all we need is just a couple little China guys or
right.
I forget exactly. I don't think he said the word Chinaman.
I think he did. It was something like that.
And I lost it. And you can definitely tell this movie was pre-cancel culture by jokes that are in it.
Yeah.
Which Robin Williams, they would never have canceled that dude during cancel culture. No. Especially with some of the comedy that he did. Like, they could go after other people, but if anybody tried to touch Robin Williams, like, there would have been murders in the street.
Yeah. Also, George Carlin. I can't imagine. Can you imagine him rolling in his grave at cancel culture? I digress.
But I mean, to me, like, this was such a departure for Robin Williams from his normal, like, silly comedy.
Yeah. It felt very much more like some of his more serious roles. But
yeah, I mean, he was funny.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the over the top with all the noises and the faces. Like, he was just a funny dude from Wisconsin, like the king of crappers or whatever.
Yeah.
And
his license plate even said Crap King and whatnot. It's
I mean,
this is great.
I think they did a really good job of depicting a Midwestern family. The dysfunction that I saw growing up, not only in my own family, but in a lot of, families in our community. You had the quintessential, you had the baby who was the clown, which was the dude with glasses who had the Mexican baby that his wife had just left him with.
Yeah.
Her love child with a Mexican guy. He ends up with the baby and he's raising them by himself. Like, the movie, like there were so many things that were funny about it. It had the mom from Goldberg's, the chick that was in Bridesmaids. Like I've always found her funny in shit that she's in. She was the sister, the older sister. Just Candace Bergen is the mom. Oliver Platt was the Santa, the transient Santa Claus. Like there were flaws in this movie with, you could tell it was low budget. The audio was weird in certain scenes.
Yeah.
The sets weren't elaborate, but they actually made you feel like you were actually in like a Midwestern neighborhood and stuff. Like, it all worked. Like if you didn't have this cast of Joel McHale and all these other people, this movie doesn't have a chance in hell of working.
No.
But I think you have talented people with a low budget and they actually made the movie work. I laughed my ass off at parts of this movie.
Yeah, I did too. And I mean, I knew that. I was like, oh goodness, this is going to be a theme. He's going to get a ticket on the way back. He's going to forget his present and all that. It's like, oh, this is going to be a thing. And I was laughing hysterically at those parts. It was great.
Dude, the dude who plays the little brother, which is, let me see here. I never remember his name. Clark Duke.
Yeah.
So he was in what, Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah, he was in The Office.
Oh yeah, freaking Kick-Ass 2, Sex Drive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in a ton of shit as like just a funny fucking character. Like his delivery is so good on jokes. Deadpan. Oh man, he had some shit where like when they kept talking about him being a war hero. And you know, he falls off the Humvee in basic training and gets a head injury, but everybody's screaming at
he was a war hero.
Yeah, Joel McHale that he's war hero. Dude, I was losing my shit over some of that stuff. Like, it was actually just nice to go back and watch a movie from 2014 that was funny before society totally fucked up humor for I don't know, 6-7 years, and we're finally coming out of it. Like it just, like, I sat there and laughed at this movie way more than I thought I was going to. And I even went into it with like expectations of, based off this cast, this should be an enjoyable movie, but I still enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
I agree. I mean, Robin Williams, it's going to be funny. You know, it's going to be funny. And Joel McHale is hysterical. I love him in, you know, Community and Animal Control and all these things. It's like, I love him in those, but it was still funnier than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Hell, I used to laugh my ass off at Joel McHale back when he was on Talk Soup.
Yeah.
Like before he ever even got into like acting parts and shit. Like I always thought he was funny as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, literally, like I was sitting here fucking just, I was playing Farm Simulator while I was watching it. And literally at one point, like I looked over and Eric Bertram's probably going to be pissed off at me, but I had let like 45 minutes pass in game. And because we play on the same server, I had just let 45 minutes pass. I hadn't done shit for 45 minutes. So he'll probably be like, what the fuck, man? You're supposed to be cutting down trees and getting them to the lumber yard.
So Zombie pipes in, says he's tuning in. Glad to hear that he didn't pick a dud this time. He laughed his ass off at that movie as well.
I mean, it had its flaws from like a cinematic perspective, but I can overlook all that shit with good jokes and a good cast.
Yeah. I think it would not have been as success, in my opinion, if the jokes weren't there and they didn't hit. And it would have just ended up being lackluster. But I don't know.
I do think one of the things is so you give people material, you write jokes for these people, but you're giving these jokes who maybe the jokes aren't that strong because this wasn't a high budget comedy. This was a $5 million budget for this movie. And literally you're handing material to people, but someone like Robin Williams, Joel McHale, Clark Duke, these guys can deliver, like they know exactly the timing, like the mannerisms, the body language, everything to make those jokes fucking a lot funnier than just the average person could.
Yeah. Just like even the slightest pause in there, like, and just even the slightest pause can make the joke even more funnier. And it's just, it's perfection. It's great. I love those characters. I love those actors.
Yeah. So. This one to me, like, this will be something that stays on a Christmas playlist for me. Like if I want to, like, this is something I can put in front of the family and just laugh my ass off.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. It probably won't be on a Christmas playlist, but it's one I won't hesitate to watch. You know,
I mean, it's got rewatchability.
Oh, like, totally.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's something that I would, if it's on again, I mean, I'll recommend it to people. That's saying something, because I don't like recommending shit to people and then them be like, oh, that wasn't that good. But this will be one I'll be like, well, if you don't like it, you're fucking stupid.
Right. I mean, I think that's exactly right. But I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to.
Oh, we gotta rate it though on stars.
Yeah, you're right.
On Do Stars. Baja Blast Do Stars.
Baja Blast. Let's go. How do you rate it?
I mean, for this one, I would probably say, as much as I enjoyed it at the end of it, I probably would have been like, 4 stars. I really think it's a 3.5-star movie. It's very good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the shit out of it. I mean, if you think about it, 3.5 is a pretty good rating for a movie. Like, you're gonna watch it more than once, any of that stuff. Yeah. But I laughed my fucking ass off. Right. So, I mean, I would probably say at the end of the day, I would rate it 4 stars just because the amount that I enjoyed it in my first watch of it. Does it stay, in my opinion, that high over time? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But it was fucking fun.
Yeah. And sounds like Zombie's going to give it 4 stars as well. And I think I will round it out at the same, like 3.5 to 4, like you were saying. Because I mean,
go ahead.
I probably will watch it, especially if it ever is on a service other than Tubi. Because holy crap, those commercials are such a buzzkill.
Mine skipped past the commercials.
Mine didn't.
I didn't watch a single fucking commercial during that movie. It skipped past them every time.
That must be nice, because it did not skip past those.
It's never done that for me before.
I know, right? And it's just one of those things. It is so painful. It's like, and then each time it goes up another commercial, like, oh, here's 2 commercials. And then next time it's 3 commercials. Next time it's 4. It's like, oh my sweet Lord Jesus. Baby, help me. But yeah. So it was right. So again, if it's ever on a service other than Tubi, I'll definitely rewatch it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's one that I would literally like, hey, I'm talking to my mom. Hey, watch this fucking movie.
Yeah.
My in-laws. Hey, like, check this out. It's funny as hell. Like any of that stuff. I mean, to me, the biggest factor of, you can get into technical shit. You can, oh my God, like the writing here was bad, or oh my God, the sound quality was terrible. But at the end of the day, to me, it's all about enjoyment. Did I enjoy it? Did I not enjoy it? Like, that's the biggest factor I rate on. And then after that is all the other little minutia bullshit. And I mean, it's just fun as shit to watch.
Yeah, agreed. It was. I don't know what Pumara would have rated it, but I'm sure she probably would be in the same general area as I did, because I know she was laughing. So, but so Gremlins 2. let's talk about that for a minute.
I'll let you start with this one because this is one I've seen this movie I've seen it every bit as many times as the first one.
Yeah.
And that's at least average once a year my entire life. So I've at least seen it 41 times.
Well, okay, so I would say first things first, I was pleasantly surprised when the cast had returned, because so many sequels don't have the original cast return.
They'll take like a side character and make them like the new main character.
Yeah. It's abysmal in my opinion when they don't come through and stick it out. So that made it immediately more enjoyable. I was like, I recognize her. She's from the first one. I remember her. But the other thing I was pleasantly surprised about was the name I saw scrolling on the screen, and John Glover. And I'm like, holy crap, John Glover's in this? Which I loved him in Smallville, and I know he's been in other things.
But Lionel Luthor.
Oh man, I was like, holy crap, he looks so young.
So when I first started watching Smallville, it bothered me for the entire first season of where have I seen this guy before? Where have I seen this guy before? And then I remember I watched just by chance Gremlins 2, like sometime between season 1 and season 2. And when I saw him as Clamp, I was like, you're fucking kidding me, right? Like, and dude, I like that dude. He plays the perfect part in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, Darth Bernie says
Damn.
1 was my first theatrical experience. Mine was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm trying to think if I even know what my first one was. I mean, because I saw Turtles in the theater, but I'd seen shit before that. God, I'll have to see if I can figure it out. Because I mean, Gremlins 1 was what year was it? It was I thought it was like 84.
Something. I thought it was closer to 80, but could be wrong.
I'm
probably wrong.
It's around the time of it's 84. I was going to say it's around the time of the Goonies because Corey Feldman's roughly close to the same age. But so
again, I was pleasantly surprised by those things, and then it jumps into the scientists, and I'm like, holy shit, Count Dooku.
Yes, Sir Christopher Lee.
Sir Christopher is in it. It's just like,
I mean, dude was a Nazi hunter.
Right.
I mean, if you look at his resume, all the shit he did in his life, it's crazy. And the motherfuckers in Gremlins too.
Right. So I was immediately taken back by that. I was just like, oh my God, that is insane. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's keep watching. So you said last week you wanted to know what
which one was my favorite Gremlin in this entire movie.
We're talking Gremlin, not Mogwai.
Well,
before they transform, right?
Just to give you a hint, it turns out to be it is a Mogwai in the movie too.
Okay.
So it's one of the original 4 that split off of Gizmo at the beginning.
So was it?
I mean, there's tons of Gremlins, the variations of Gremlins that I love. But yeah,
was it like the dumb idiot Ed like type guy?
No, it's like, well, there's 2 dumb ones. There's the bucktooth one.
Yeah.
And then there's the one whose eyes
about the one that the chick brought back.
That rolls his eyes around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That thing. I laugh so hard just when it's giggling and its eyes are rolling around. Yeah. Oh my God. And
then he comes back as a gremlin and you see him as a gremlin and it's just like, oh, and he still has this crazy eyes.
Oh yeah.
But my second thought was going to be that what Zombie said was the brain guy, where he's all intellectual and he starts having intellectual speech, because it has like this weird Australian accent, but like kind of British.
So one thing that got me with the brain was when they're doing the interview with him and they're asking him what they want.
Right.
And I'll have to go back and listen to it again because I don't remember exactly what, but he's telling them like, well, we want all the things that you do.
Yeah.
And it's something like something about like cheap guns or something like, or
he rattles
off. Oh no,
it's so many.
It's they can go out and see crime on the streets of New York.
And then he goes back and mentions, he said, oh, but this one, petty crime is also entertainment too. And
yeah.
Like,
dude, I lose my shit when he says that every time, because it's just like he's like trying to be so eloquent about what he's talking about, and then he just throws in like the most off the wall dry shit that he can.
Like what you wouldn't completely expect. Oh, you know, it's like the most degenerate type thing. So he's like, oh, you know, democracy, civilization, and cheap guns. Democracy, civilization, and tear it out. It's just. So he said Brain or Greta. So I'm guessing that's like the cross-dressing whatever chick. The
but
chick.
I don't think it is cross-dressing because it was a.
Right.
Actually, if you look at the label, and I'm going to throw something out here, and it'll probably be like my 5th time tonight getting canceled. It's actually the male-female symbol like interlinked. So I actually think it's a transvestite.
Okay.
So it's male and female, like looks female, but is male. Like, and I think you said cross-dressing, like.
Yeah,
that's the tongue-in-cheek joke is that it's a tranny.
Yeah, that was my first thought when I was like, oh, I wonder if the tranny is his favorite. But then I was trying to come up with a better way to phrase that.
Yeah, so like when my wife or somebody will be like giggling at me like hysterically at my expense, I'll be like, shut the fuck up, goofy gremlin. And they'll be like, what? And I'll be like, Google Goofy Gremlin. And if you Google it, YouTube will pop up the scene of that fucking mogwai with its eyes spinning around.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that's what they look like. Like, and it usually shuts them the fuck down. Like they don't want to laugh at all the rest of the night because all they can think about is that goofy ass gremlin, the way it looks. Right. So yeah, that thing, I lose it every fucking time.
Yeah. Like, well, okay, so they it's very much similar to the first one where they're okay, well, we got to do this. Okay, remember, here's the steps. Remember the rules. Immediately the rules go out the window.
Mm-hmm.
There's that dude who's bitching about someone who's trying to take his job and he's fiddling with the faucet. Boom. Dude gets wet. Mogwai gets wet. Or Gizmo gets wet. Boom. Already. He said, so which one is it? I thought he said it was the goofy gremlin.
Yeah, my favorite is it's the Mogwai.
Yeah.
That his eyes spin around and everything. I call them all gremlins. I should have probably said Mogwai, but then you had a much narrower window to pick from too. So
yeah.
But I mean, there's not a fucking gremlin in this one I don't like. Honestly,
there are. It's every time something else came up, I was just like, I wonder if he likes this one. I wonder if he likes that one. And so it was intriguing.
One of my favorite scenes is when they're going to get the assault weapons and Mohawk gets the Uzi and he starts shooting. And all of a sudden, like he's hitting all these gremlins with bullets, and then the one starts drinking and shit starts spraying out of every hole, and they stop and they look at it, and then he just goes, like all of them start laughing hysterically. It's like, I don't know, that scene. There's so many parts of this movie that I find funny, but it was the zombie. It was the one where his eyes spin around. He was the Mogwai and then turned into the gremlin. Yeah, that little bastard. It's more when he's the Mogwai that I enjoy the most.
Yeah, I figured that as well but
the dentist scene with him is great because he's the dentist. That part's awesome too.
I was gonna say I didn't see him very much after he turned into a gremlin. But
yeah, he's not in it a ton as a gremlin.
Yeah. But
he got all his screen time as a mogwai.
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez a whiz. I mean, he's like squirting all this food, throwing the food at them and all that stuff in the beginning, and it was wild.
I mean, I could literally talk about this movie for days. I mean, there's cameos in this movie that I think are amazing. So the security guard that catches Bill while he's using the fucking axe to cut through that one gate, and they send the security guard to get him. Yeah. So that dude's the neighbor Art in The Burbs from the Tom Hanks movie back in the 80s. Then when they're they're like using the camera to zero in on that one employee who's like hiding the smoke. Yeah. He's Dr. Koepp from The Burbs. So there's 2 cameos from The Burbs in this movie, which The Burbs is one of my favorite movies from the 80s. Let's see here. The cameraman is Getty Watanabe, which is, I believe he's related to Ken Watanabe. I'd have to look it up, but he's like the Asian cameraman guy. Yeah. I mean, he's been in so much stuff.
I recognized him. I did not go out of my way to figure out who he was, though.
I mean, he was in UHF back in the day, the Weird Al movie. He's been in so many movies as just like side characters, like background characters. Just this movie had so many people. Howie Mandel does the voice of Gizmo. I believe he did it in the
voice of Gizmo in the first way.
I think he did it in the first one too.
Yeah.
Because he did a lot of voice work,
right?
And he was a stand-up comic too before he ever became, Deal or No Deal and that shit. Yeah. But I mean,
and he did Bobby's World and all that stuff. So,
like the one thing I really like about Gremlins, and then Gremlins 2 probably even more, is the movie is it's a satire that makes fun of a ton of stuff. So obviously they're taking shots at Donald Trump. That's who this Clamp guy is meant to be for the most part in this movie. But they satire all just life in general during that time period and just rip on so many different things. But then they make fun of their own, like they break the fourth wall in this movie.
They do
multiple times. And one of my favorite scenes was always the Hulk Hogan scene where
put back on Gremlins 2.
Yeah. And then you've got the hand puppet scene right before that when they destroy the film tape, and like Bunny Rabbit, and then the one does Abe Lincoln. Like I always refer to that scene, like when people like are making hand puppets on the wall, I'm always like, do Abe Lincoln, because straight from Gremlins 2. Right. Like this movie to me it's different enough from the first one that it's not just a rehash of the same movie. Then they started creating all these other kinds of science experiment, Gremlins with the DNA stuff. Yeah. Like it's
he's just like, it didn't give me rabies. I needed my rabies. It's just
where the first one was funny, but it was darker. It was at Christmas time in this little town with this blizzard going on. Like this one's in this like cutting edge, state of the art building, all this crazy shit going on. The drunk lady cooking in the microwave and shit on her cable channel. Like it's just different enough. Like it makes fun of itself. And then the cherry on top of this movie for me, and a lot of people probably be like, "You're fucking stupid." So they include one of the deepest scenes from the Rambo film franchise, because it's Rambo First Blood Part 2, which most people think is just a gratuitous action movie. I think it's actually just as good and deep as the first movie. Now, they tuned up the action a lot for that movie and the special effects, because Sylvester Stallone was becoming one of the biggest, action stars in Hollywood at the time. But that's the scene where he's sitting on the boat and he's talking to the chick about, his experience in war and all that, and finally opening up, and Gizmo's sitting there watching that scene, and then they refer to it as he basically has to become war. So then it starts the montage of Gizmo
and he's
better.
training.
Yeah, and then he makes a bow that shoots an explosive round. Yeah, they mirror freaking Rambo First Blood Part 2 into the story of this movie. Literally, when I was a kid, my head would just explode at this fucking movie. And I mean, honestly, it incorporating one of my favorite action movies. I was just always geeked out over it as a kid, because I couldn't tell you how many fucking times me and my dad watched Rambo. I watched Rambo First Blood Part 2 more than the actual original First Blood when I was younger, because we always wanted to see the scene where the arrow hits the dude and he just explodes into nothing. But yeah, this has always been a movie that I just enjoy the fucking shit out of every time I watch it.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so let's rate it. I've said my piece on it. I thought it was great.
All right, you get to rate first.
Says you're looking more and more like the Unabomber.
How can I look more like him? I mean, I look exactly like him the first time, and it's just continued.
I thought, didn't he have a gray hoodie?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it's a black and white drawing, so it kind of gives the impression of being gray. I'll tell you what. Before we rate this sumbitch, there is a series. I think it's on Netflix. It's about the Unabomber, but Paul Bettany plays the Unabomber in it. And it's more about what transpires when he goes to prison, because he writes that big manifesto. Well, then he chooses to represent himself in court.
Okay.
Theodore Kaczynski, but Paul Bettany plays him. And Sam Worthington plays the agent who captures him, who tracks him down and captures him. It is an amazing mini series. And it really meant Ted Kaczynski almost got himself off of all charges. He is a genius. And he did one hell of a job of representing himself in court, to the point where he could have maybe been let go after bombing people over years. But we do not condone the actions of the Unabomber or support that type of behavior.
No, definitely not. But I had a thought.
It looks like Zombie looked it up, that Howie Mandel was not the voice the first time around. So
okay. I thought, but oh well.
I mean, you probably could have got somebody a homeless dude and paid him $5 and just said, "You got to do Markway."
Right.
Ooh. This is all you have to do. They drove around New York till they found the dude already making that noise.
Right. Hey, you! I like that. I like that tune you're humming. Come hum it in this microphone.
This is what a Mogwai sounds like.
All right. So here we go. Zombie says 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Zombie says 4 stars. And I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 3. Oh, so he says no. He was talking about Daffy Gremlin.
Oh, wow.
Not the Howie Mandel thing. So I'm gonna go 3.5 because
I'm trying to interpret what Zombie's talking about when. So
yeah, very good, interesting concept. Yeah. So I think it's a 3.5. 3.5 to 4, just like the first one. Because I imagine wanting to watch this one over again just because of the cast alone.
Yeah,
because there was so much stuff that was going on in the background while they were like the story was progressing. But meanwhile, you can spot in the back and where people are like chit-chatting, throwing things, and it's just like just doing off the wall shit. And okay, so here's another thing. There was what was his name? He was a doctor on Voyager. He was a doctor on Voyager, and he was like this android robot thing, and he was the one that kept saying, "Oh, this is not good management. This management has failed," or something like that. And he was the doctor, essentially. Well, no, he wasn't a doctor in this. He was the doctor on the Star Trek Voyager. Yes.
Yeah, he's the asshole in this.
Yeah, exactly. And so he is basically trapped. The entire thing, like the entire building's closed off, and they've just sort of entrapped all of the gremlins and stuff in there. And meanwhile, the tranny gremlin is like in a wedding dress, and she's like making all these weird noises at him, like, and it's like, it just sort of felt like right at the end, he's just like, oh, well, it is what it is. Like, he just sort of throws up his hands. He
accepts his fate.
Right. He just accepts his fate. Like, all right, this is my life now. I'm going to marry this gremlin guy or girl or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like that. I was like, so the movie clicks off, and it immediately pulls up, suggestions for the next things. And I'm still sitting there going like, wait a minute. Did he really just shrug and accept his fate instead of running away or trying to get away from this gremlin? Did he actually like that? Like, that's what's going through my mind at that moment. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I like this one just as much as the first one. Like, they're on equal footing with me. So I would rate both of them 4 stars in my book. These are movies that I've watched countless times over and over and over. I could see where like my stepkids though would be like, oh my God, this is trash. Cause they didn't grow up in that era. Like, a lot of it's wrapped up in nostalgia. So, but for me, like, these two movies, both Gremlins movies are, I would recommend them to people. I think they're funny as hell. For them being a horror movie / comedy, and the first one being that plus a Christmas movie, it's just like the perfect storm. And I see on Max, there's an animated series that came out in like 2017. That's about like Gizmo's origins in China. And I think the old man is a kid, is what I got from the description. I'm actually going to check it out because it looks pretty sweet.
So I don't know. So I actually just recently watched both of these movies. I had maybe seen one of the Gremlins. I'm not sure which one it was, as a very, very little kid. And I remember it scared the crap out of me. I remember having nightmares and waking up and my dad came in the room and like calmed me down or whatever. And I went back to sleep, and I think it was the first one, because I I kind of remember it snowing and like the red lights of like a motel or something. But anyway, I think it was the first ones, but I hadn't watched it for years and years, and I couldn't even remember it. So I recently watched that. And I say recently, I have no comprehension of time. So that could be this year or a year ago. I've learned that, talking with,
I mean, if you've watched it within
whatnot,
a year, it's recent. I mean,
right. I've talked with Zombie and stuff like that, and I'm just like, oh yeah, didn't we just watch that? And they're like, no. It's like, oh, that was last year, and it's like, oh, okay, all right. So it's all sort of relative in my mind because it's all messed up from all the different things that I've been through. So, but I digress. Did I rate the movie? I forget.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, 3.5 to 4. That's where I'm rating it. So I say let's wrap this up. We're at an hour and a half. Let me get my media. So movies for next week. I think this is what we agreed on. Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2. I remember thinking back, it's like, man, I feel like it's a disservice to not recommend Santa Claus the movie, but it is old, but it's worthwhile. And it's one that I know I'll be seeing at some point.
Just take our word for it. Watch it.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi. Just watch it.
Yeah, for real. Just watch it. And but also watch these movies. Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2. That's what we'll be watching for next week. Unlike some of the other shows, we're still plowing ahead. As far as I know,
I got shit to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So we're just here. You may be spending time with family. Pull us up.
Yeah.
Watch us.
Watch us later. Who gives a shit?
You could watch us later, or you could pull it up live and make your entire family sit down and watch it with you.
Yeah, all those family members you hate, pull it up and then start throwing in the comments shit you want me to say to them.
Yeah,
and we'll make it happen.
There you go.
Spirit of Christmas.
Excuse me for coughing so much, but so we have that show. That's for next week. So come back, join us next week. Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2. And then Monday night, we'll be It's Frickin' Figures. As far as I know, it could still be up in the air with Zombie schedule, but this is at 10:30, and this is at 9 next week. So 10:30, I think. I'll have to confirm that, but it'll be in my posts. In addition to that, we have a very special guest, a returning guest. Okay. So let's ask Zombie. Zombie, do you want to do it at 10:30 or 8? Because you were saying you can be free earlier. So that's my question to him. In the first movie, when Stripe walks to the street light of the pulsating him on and made that scared the crap out of me. Okay, yeah. So it was probably that same scene. 8, okay. All right, so join us at 8 for It's Frickin' Figures. Then the week after this, on the 30th, we'll have a special guest. And if I can click back to the thing that I can click. Okay, where's the thing? Sorry. I'm all discombobulated. On the 30th, we'll be having Corn Boy. We'll be back in the studio hanging out with us. Well, not in the studio, in his space, and we'll be hanging out, talking toys. And we're going to try to get some Secrets of the Dragon up in here. I mean, they already posted.
Do you or Zombie even speak Muncie, Indiana? Do I need to come and be a translator?
Right? I don't know.
Just so happens that Corn Boy, Eric Bertram, and myself all grew up in the same area, different time periods. But
yeah,
he was in a band at one time, or played in a few bands with Darth Burney's brother-in-law.
Nice.
So yeah,
he's
cool.
Kind
of a big deal.
Let me see. I'll tell you that time. Give me a second. We were just talking about it.
Would it be the more the merrier, or the more the darier?
Yeah, the more the darier. Where did that conversation go? Here we go. Okay, so 9 for the 30th. 9 o'clock for the 30th with Corn Boy up in here. And Zombie says the more the merrier, dairy.
Yeah, the more the darier.
Yeah, I agree. The more the darier. So I digress. That's the episode. Any last thoughts? Any last words? Did I say this already? Check out Land of the Bad.
Yeah, you said, but
I think I said that to you.
To say again.
But yeah, check out Land of the Bad. Check out those 2 movies. Come back and join us next week. Hopefully they're good. Sorry if they're not, but you'll have to suffer like we are suffering. This is a chance. I've seen the first one. I have not seen the second one.
It's good. It's got Kurt Russell and it's good.
Yeah, I imagine it'll be good.
That's the yardstick I use with any property that he's in. If he's in it, it's good.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But actually, I got a dog going haywire. I got to go before he pisses all over the place. So
fair enough. All right. Until next time.
Catch you guys next week.
Yep. Thunder Nerds Ho.